forward to our new year beginning, 2025, this week. Always a hopeful time. New possibilities, new resolutions. We're reflecting in these weeks leading up to the new year to be well in the new year. We began reflecting on this on Christmas Masses, and we'll continue the next few weeks. We all want to be well. It's a basic human desire. And in our country today, there's a kind of a wellness craze. It's trending on social media. There's wellness rooms in big cities. Many companies now, millennial startup companies, have wellness rooms. The world's view is to seek the physical wellness and emotional wellness, which is basically good, right? So that we can have a certain stability in our life, certain natural happiness. The Christian view is even deeper, though, that we seek physical and emotional wellness, but also spiritual wellness. We know that we're a composite as human beings of mind, body, and soul. There's three parts to ourselves, and we try to integrate those three. That's kind of the goal of life. Virtue is living good habits, integrating the three. Knowing the right thing to do and doing it brings stability to us. And Jesus came to earth precisely to help make us well. That's what we celebrate at Christmas. It started at Christmas when he was born in the manger, but of course it came to fulfillment, completion, when he began his public work, when he was 30 years old, and he began teaching, giving sacraments, and healing people. So God is pleased when we live well as human beings. There's a saying from St. Irenaeus, an early French saint, the glory of God is man fully alive. When men and women are fully alive, living well, God is glorified. We're living the way we were meant to. When we see something in creation that is perfected, we're like, wow, that's a reflection of God's goodness. That's most especially true of human beings. When we live the way we're supposed to, God is very pleased. So today we consider emotional wellness, how to deal with the anxieties and stresses of life, have a certain calm and a peace of mind. Jesus wants to give us peace of mind. He's the Prince of Peace. When I was young, maybe 2 or 3 years old, I got lost at the beach. I don't remember this, but my parents tell me. I wandered away from them, and then, of course, they were very anxious and afraid, as parents would be. Did he go down into the water? Did he wander down the beach, or did he head back up off the beach to the road? So they quickly checked in with the lifeguard. My dad went running down the beach. My mom headed up the path toward the roadway. And right by the roadway, there was a construction site. They were building new condominiums. And as my mom came up the path, she saw a construction worker walking out of the deep pit they had dug. He was walking up the ramp, and he was carrying a little 2-year-old boy with a hard hat on his head. So I apparently was interested in construction from an early age. Went on to become a civil engineer. But the anxiety that parents have for their children when someone is lost, right? Some of you might have experienced that. Even if they're out of your sight for a moment, you're like a moment of fear. Just one example of anxiety, which the Holy Family also experienced, as we heard in the Gospel today from St. Luke. They were visiting Jerusalem. They would go up. They tried to go every year, an annual pilgrimage. And they went up with some friends and families from Nazareth, and they spent a few days there, and then they were heading out. And it said they were a day's travel away from Jerusalem before Mary and Joseph realized that Jesus wasn't there. He was 12 years old. And their fear, it says they looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances, but not finding him, returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple. And when his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." Right? The beauty of family life, but the anxieties of family life and raising children. Now, Jesus wasn't really lost. He was where he was meant to be. He meant to be in the temple. It was his parents who lost him. 3 days looking for a child. To deal with this situation, Mary and Joseph had to rely on each other and also on God, right? They had to keep a certain stability of mind in their emotions, keep their emotions level to kind of support each other in this moment of fear, but also to make good decisions about where to look. But they also needed to keep a supernatural outlook in order to be calm. You know, he's your son. He's God's son first. He's our son, but he's also God's son first. And so God protect him and show us what to do. So that's true of all of us, right? We need to keep a certain natural stability, but also keep a supernatural outlook, which helps us to keep stable. So how does this apply to us? How do we live and seek this emotional wellness? You know, we have two movements here in our two parishes seeking to help people be well. The first is Kingdom Builders. It's a monthly meeting for women seeking wellness in mind and body and spirit. It's a national movement, a Catholic movement. It began in our parishes 2 years ago. Women meet once a month on Wednesday evenings. You can drop in at any time. Come and go. Some find it so helpful they've started to meet in small groups on the off weeks. But every month there's a discussion on some aspect of wellness, physical wellness, emotional, spiritual. And then prayers for each other and some beautiful hymns and adoration. There's also a group of men that get together, Exodus 90. It's a 3-month challenge we run each year for men seeking to live virtuously and break compulsive behaviors. 90 days of healthy living to get back on track, mind, body, and soul. And some men find it so helpful they continue to meet in small groups throughout the years. That begins in January. So both of these movements emphasize diet, exercise, sleep, friendship, self-denial, reading, but also prayer at a deeper level. So maybe you would participate in these, try it out in the new year, maybe in January. So emotional wellness, there's a term emotional literacy, which is the ability to recognize when our emotions are rising and also what outside factors are triggering us, and then trying to manage them through healthy habits and self-reflection. So we want to be emotionally literate. For some of us, this is more obvious, for some less so. Some of us see the signs quickly, others have to kind of really stop and think. Why am I on edge? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? Why am I anxious? What are some of those factors that stress us out? You know, the news feed, right? Negative stories on the news. Don't follow all the political news. It will just, or what's going on in the world? There's a disaster here. Oh my gosh, there's the war there. Oh my gosh, there's a disaster here. Like, but there's not here. It's okay. Chill. Thank God. We have enough problems right here. The news feed, talk radio, financial worries, which we face, but sometimes unnecessarily. How are we going to afford this in the future? We'll figure it out when we get there. You could always have more money, but you can always have less. Health problems that arise that throw us off, pains, worries about our health in the future, conflicts in our relationships at home, in our families, in our marriages, or at work, with the boss or the employees or the coworkers, with school, with classmates. Addictive behaviors that we struggle with that throw off our peace and discourage us. Lack of sleep, or too much caffeine some days. Why am I on edge? Well, it's your third cup of coffee. So what are some things we can do, practical things, to achieve better emotional wellness? And, you know, it's different for each of us, and some of us have really deep-seated struggles with our emotions and depression, and we have to seek more help. But some basic recommendations. Set boundaries for ourselves. Boundaries with our smartphone, or the apps, reducing their time, screen time, reducing. Set boundaries on our work time. Make time for family and time for rest and leisure. Set boundaries on our spending. Some of us get compulsive and we feel bad and we know we're spending too much, but it's hard to stop. Create a budget. These are good things for the new year. Set these boundaries. Practice more self-care when we recognize that we're feeling down or we're on edge. What do they say? Practice deep breathing. Catch your breath. Deep breaths. Slow down. Take a walk. Go outside. Get some fresh air. Take a nap. Ease your mind for a moment. Someone said, go get a haircut. You'll feel better about yourself. Look through your home. Sometimes there's disorder in our home. There's too much clutter, and then we feel disordered. So make a resolution. Set some time aside. Schedule a Saturday to organize or give things away or throw things out. Choose an inspiring book to read. Do some reading that lifts our spirits, that gives us a positive vision of life of a saint, or some spiritual reading, or just inspirational books or novels. And be humble. Sometimes we have to call a health professional or a counselor and set up some time to get advice and guidance. Sometimes for a few weeks or a few months or maybe a few years. It's just mind, body, soul. The mind, the emotions is part of who we are, and we need to treat it. And sometimes we struggle. And also pray. God wants us to be healthy and balanced, to have peace of mind and peace of soul. So practice 10 minutes of mental prayer every day. We've been encouraging our parishioners to do that. Sit with the gospel for Mass that day and just ponder it for 10 minutes. But listen, sit and receive from God. Sometimes our prayer is too active. Sometimes our prayer is tiring. This prayer is relaxing. It's refreshing. 10 minutes of mental prayer, listening to God. Sometimes you might want to do 15 or 20 minutes. Practice gratitude. Also, an attitude of gratitude stabilizes us, gives us a proper perspective in life. We said every night, do a nighttime examination, but part of it is thank God for good things that happened that day. That's deep. It's simple, but it's deep. It changes your perspective. You focus on the good rather than the bad. You focus on what you have. And you're grateful rather than always being unsatisfied, looking to see what others have. So that's a long list of things. We're going to print them in the bulletin next week. So you can kind of take it home and maybe take a few of those ideas for the new year. But this good desire that we have to be well in the new year, right? To take the steps necessary for our emotional wellness, setting these boundaries, putting into practice these good habits like Mary and Joseph had to do. Big responsibilities and unknowns in their lives. So we'll continue this series of reflections next week. Next week we'll talk about physical wellness, how to be physically fit and healthy in the new year. So come back and maybe bring a friend. Also, these homilies are online on our live stream page, so you can always access them or have others access them through the parish website. Amen.